There's been a firestorm over the last few days within the mREIT sector with one company in particular, which is Arbor Realty. Even though the financial sector has been chaotic for over a week, in the past few days, their stock share price has declined by over 25%, which is far worse than any other mortgage REIT out there. When I saw this stock share price plummeting so much, I knew that something had to be going on here because it was so unusual. This company's continued to post good results, and I wasn't under the impression that anything was going to change in the foreseeable future. As it turns out, people seem to be reacting to a piece of research that was published by a company called Ningi Research. This report was picked up by a handful of news outlets and brokers who passed it on to shareholders. In the report, Ningi Research announced that they've opened a sizable short position in ABR, and they've made some damning accusations against Arbor Realty and how they've conducted their business for more than a decade. Opening a short position in a stock is to basically bet that the share price is going to go down. In a 43-page report, they claim to have evidence that Arbor Realty created secret holding companies which had a portfolio of bad mobile home properties, as they described it, and they also claim the company's been misrepresenting their financials for years, and that ultimately, they estimate a median downside of 52% of their stock share price performance. There's some pretty shocking allegations in this report where, if it's true, it could spell disaster for this company. I've gone through this report, and today what I want to do is talk about what's inside, and probably even more importantly, what's not inside this report. Additionally, Arbor has since responded in a press release to this report, which we'll also take a look at. But for starters, I was curious about who exactly is behind Ningi Research, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This website's extremely archaic, and they seem to only have one image on it. I clicked on their About Us page, and this is what came up. It says, Ningi Research was founded in the beginning of 2022. After years of witnessing fraudulent behavior in public companies, equity research, and portfolio management, Ningi Research decided to use its experience in the public interest. And while that does sound good, the fact that they're a new company with no long-term track record is concerning. They do have a couple other reports on their website, but they aren't as damning as what they've just written about Arbor Realty. But what I think is more puzzling is the fact that there isn't a single author name given in the whole report. We have no idea behind the identity of the person who wrote it. This is really unusual for an equity research company. Anytime one of these research reports is published, there's always an author attached to it. These reports take a lot of effort to make, so the authors are typically pretty proud of what they've uncovered. Giving an author name also gives us the opportunity to see the credentials of the person who wrote it. Do they have a PhD or an MBA? Are they a chartered financial analyst, a certified public accountant, or anything like that? Some research companies also post the results of their own stock recommendation performance if they have been successful at beating the market. But in this case, we don't even have a clue as to who wrote this, other than someone who claims that they're concerned about fraudulent behavior. We don't know if the author has a sketchy background or even a criminal history. We also don't know if this research company is located inside or outside the US. Just by looking around their website and the report itself, I'm more convinced that this did not come from the United States. We can see there's numerous spelling and grammatical errors all throughout their website. On the page where they publish their report, there's commas used in incorrect places. Words that should be capitalized aren't, and there's random bullet points with no text next to them, and I'm not certain as to how they went about deciding what to make bold and what isn't. Their use of grammar seems very inconsistent. The actual report itself is full of dozens of serious accusations, but the actual evidence for any of this appears to be very weak. The report says they estimate a median downside of 52% and a worst-case scenario of a 67% downside for Arbor's stock. But I'm not understanding where they got these numbers from, and this just doesn't look like a typical equity report that I've seen. The report's caused such a stir that Arbor Realty directly responded to it in a press release. It says, Arbor Realty Trust announced today that the company is in receipt of the purported research report that was published earlier today by Ningi Research, a short seller of Arbor's stock. The report lacks merit and contains numerous inaccuracies, misstatements, and otherwise misleading allegations. This false and inflammatory report is a transparent effort to mislead the public for the purpose of enabling Ningi and its affiliates to profit from short positions on Arbor's stock. Contrary to this report, Arbor's committed to maintaining its books and its records in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles in the US and adhering to the highest standards of corporate governance and internal controls. I'm pretty confident that this whole report by Ningi is a complete sham. I think what's going on here is we have someone or some group that's located outside the US who's opened a short position and created a fake piece of research. The accusations against Arbor Realty are so big here that I'm assuming that's how this story got picked up, but it never should have received the amount of attention that it got from these news outlets. The news outlets that shared it and the brokerage platforms that linked to it on their news feeds didn't even do 5 minutes of research into it, in my opinion. Why should anyone take this report seriously when we don't even know who wrote it, let alone where the company is located? It all seems to be a part of a massive scam that's similar to a pump and dump scheme, only instead of trying to buy low and pump the price up, what they did was they tried to do the opposite by buying in and attempting to scare the market. And it clearly worked for them, seeing how investors reacted to this news. It's a shame that news outlets give these kinds of websites any attention at all, but we all know that fear attracts eyeballs. I see no reason to believe that Arbor Realty stock is going to collapse. Even the disclaimer that pops up on every single page you go to on their website contains errors. Seeing this stuff makes me want to grab a red marker and just go to town crossing out stuff and adding punctuations like I'm a school teacher. I know I'm biased since I've been following this company for years and I've been a shareholder, but I do believe that this hit piece is just going to be a temporary blip in their stock's overall performance. I wouldn't be surprised if whoever wrote this article probably already made a good profit on their investment. I was so confident that this report isn't true that I just bought an additional 91 shares of Arbor Realty at a price of $11.32 per share. This stock isn't close to being one of my larger holdings since I'm not the biggest fan of mortgage REIT companies, but they're a nationwide real estate investment trust and direct lender that provides loan origination and servicing for multifamily, single-tenant rental properties and other diverse commercial real estate assets. They specialize in providing bridge loans, and roughly 91% of their portfolio is dedicated to multifamily housing development. Despite the economy, it's a sector that's still experiencing good growth thanks to the housing shortage across this country. But I want to give an example of a legitimate company that does provide research. I'm not endorsing what this company's written, this is just an example of what a company that performs equity research typically looks like. Right away you know who's behind this organization. You can click on their bios and read about their work history, education, and see their credentials. The report also gives all the author names as well as contact information. It's a much better put together piece than what Ningi delivered. I'm not saying it has to be beautiful, but this report looks a lot more professional. In fact, every single page has a toll-free number and an address you can use to visit them at. For the sake of curiosity, I did do some research on the domain for this website to see if there was any information on who created it. When you register a domain name, you're required to give out some personal information which is made public, but most hosting sites won't reveal this information to the public if you pay them an additional fee. This is what Ningi's website did. You can see the name, phone, and mailing address were all made private. But we do know where this website might be created at. It said it was made in Charlestown in KN. According to Google, this is the capital city of St. Kitts and Nevis, which is a small island country in the West Indies. But it's pretty much a dead end at this point. I've just never heard of this country, and I don't know why an equity research company might be located here. To wrap things up, I just think this whole report, in my opinion, is a total scam that someone or some group made up to profit from a large trade. Considering I just bought more shares means I have more skin in the game, so if I'm wrong, I'm really going to feel the effects, but I don't think I am. As I was making this video, it did look like the share price was slightly recovering, but now it's heading back down again. So we really don't know when this fear is going to go away. But I am confident that there isn't widespread fraud going on at Arbor Realty. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video. Be sure to hit the like button if you like what you saw, and remember to always perform your own research and come to your own conclusion before investing. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.